Hey guys, thank you for tuning in once more with me. I have a pretty dope surprise for you guys. Go to the show notes or also go to my website, which you can find the link on my social media platforms. We now have a code for you guys to try out Audible. You guys can click that link, log into it. Well, basically, you're going to set up your Audible Premium Plus free trial, right? It is a free trial for 30 days. And what you get from this is 1 credit for an Audible book. For some of y'all who are Amazon Prime members, you get 2 credits and you're able to listen to an audiobook of your choice. This is a 30-day free trial, which means you technically have 30 days to listen to your audiobook of your choice. And here's the kicker. You are also able to tune into podcasts now. That's right. So you can listen to the show on there too. So go to my show notes or to my website. Again, you can find that in the show notes as well, or my social media platforms, and click the link to set up your Audible Premium Plus free trial courtesy of Double Dose of Raw Talk podcast. Now, let's get the show started. Welcome to Double Dose of Raw Talk podcast. I am your host, Miss D. On this weekly show, you will tune in to discussions of different topics about today's society, culture, and adulthood. Of course, there's always juicy conversation with a little bit of love and plenty of sex. And let's not forget the stories of all relationships and the mess with relationships. Join me every week along with my friends and guests to get your dose and keep it raw on everything and anything. And remember, no topic is off limits. Okay, welcome back everyone to another week and another episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk podcast. I am your host, Misty. And here today is a returning guest, but this is on a different vibe. So, welcome back to the one and only and very well known Captain Kim.
Hey, y'all.
All right, guys. So, if you've been living under a rock, let me tell you who Captain Kim is. She is 1/3 of the Everybody Relax podcast. That sounded so nice to say. That was very like Zen. Everybody Relax podcast. Brooklyn blogger, right?
Brooklyn blogger.
She speaks free. In case nobody knew that, this is her. All right. So
the secret's out.
Yes. We're on a vibe today. I'm excited that you are here. Yeah, I'm just excited. I don't know.
I am too.
This is something I've been wanting to talk about for some time, and I did put it on my social media, and you did come forward, and you did say, "Oh, I'll talk to you about it," because I don't know if people realize this, but a lot of people go through this, and not everybody likes to talk about it. One, I don't want to say it's because it's taboo, but a lot of people feel, and this could be men or women, they feel some form of shame of having been in some form of a relationship for a very long time that may not have been at most the healthiest or the best type of relationship. And they don't always share how they were able to come out of that.
Yes.
And for anyone who has just survived 2020, possibly still in their relationship, because that's going to be a whole other episode that I have coming up.
Oof.
I think it's important to just highlight, what happens when, you are with people for so long and then you get tested with a whole quarantine. And not that that's necessarily our story. It's not. But I think there's plenty to say when you're able to walk away from situations that are not the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
I'm a fan of John Quinones. I don't know if you know who he is. He's the "What Would You Do" guy. The scenarios. I actually met him.
You have?
Yeah.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
So that's okay. It's okay. I'll probably share a picture of him so people could see who he is, right?
Okay.
So I believe it's on channel 7 or one of those channels, and he does the scenarios with like actors and actresses, right, at like different locations, and people come in, and then like the actors and actresses are like doing like this like really intense like shady business type of thing. He brings out situations of racism. He brings out situations of abuse. He brings out situations of poor customer service or insensitivity. Things like that.
Okay.
The question is, what would you do, right? And so they do this with real people in the mix to see what the real person would really do. Do they act like they might need their business, or, do they do something about it? It's kind of like that,
Okay.
right? In the essence of what would you do, after every scenario, he comes out and greets the people, the real people. And so they recognize him. And then, girl, you probably been around Jack and Yones and you don't even know it at
I
this
probably
point.
have. I probably have.
Kim is like, I was probably in one of those episodes. That's me. I was the one minding my business.
You're gonna have me looking through all this footage now.
It was
See
that
if I
me.
find myself.
And but I like those type of scenarios because it makes you wonder, right? Like there's that one thing of being in real time, but then it's like, let me think about this. Like, what would I do, right? All right. So I have just 3 little scenarios. Okay. So we're gonna start with the first one. You are shopping for groceries. So you're going into this like supermarket. You're gonna shop for groceries. And here you are at the door. You're holding the door. You're about to go in, and you notice someone is coming walking behind you. Their hands are full, but they're going into the same store. So, we have to carry in now bags to do our shopping. She got her babies with her. She got book bags with her. The
Give me
whole
a little
9.
shopping cart.
Everything, the whole 9 yards. But that person is kind of far, Kim. She's kind of far. And you there at the door, and you notice there's only one cart left right at the entrance. And then 2 more people are coming behind you, and they're beating this lady to the punch, which means if you stay holding the door for her, they probably going to grab the last cart.
Ooh, okay.
What do you do? Do you stay there holding that door open for the lady, or do you go in and grab that cart? Be honest.
I would probably stay and hold the door open for the lady.
You would?
Yeah, because, I've been in that situation before, having 3 children and having to do these things with them in tow, and it's hard. So I would probably sympathize and forego the cart. And, in my mind, I think I'm just going to have to wait for somebody to check out and get me a cart. And yeah, I would hold the door open for her.
Kim is
That's
such
tough.
a better human being than I am because I'm going to be honest.
You going for the cart?
I'm going for the cart. You know what it is? My excuse in life is that I'm short, and chances are people who are taller than me get farther in life than me. And so I take as many wins as I can in life. And if I see there's just one cart left, I'm going to go for the cart.
No, you played the short girl card.
All the time. Everybody else is always winning. So like in my mind, if I let go of that door, maybe those 2 people are going to grab the door for her and hold it for her.
Right. Maybe
not, but
maybe not.
Maybe that's the optimistic part of me who wants to believe those 2 people who are most likely taller than me are going to stand there and hold the door for this lady. I have no shame, and I am a mom, and I've totally been in those situations, but I'm probably going to go for the cart. Yeah, I probably am.
I get it.
I'm also one of those fucked up people who wear shades all over the place just so I can pretend like...
You don't know if I saw that.
You don't know if I saw that.
I feel you. I mean, and maybe if I was in a rush, I might have just gone for
You
the
might have
cart.
just gone? Okay. All right. Well, this makes me feel a little better. All right. Scenario number 2. You are crossing the street with your babies. FYI, they're not babies. Like, clearly they could walk. And for some reason, you're trying to beat that light.
Been there.
So you're rushing, and you make it to the other side. With 10 seconds left for the light to change, you notice that one of them dropped their stuffed animal. What do you do?
I'm going to get that stuffed animal. I've been in that exact situation. I'm soft.
You're so soft. She's
so soft.
She's a better mom than I am, I swear. She's so soft.
Yeah, a certain person in my life likes to tell me that all the time, like, she's soft. And I'm like, I am soft. No, I would, 10 seconds is a long time if you really think about it.
For your long legs, yes. For me,
True.
no.
That's like That's like 3 steps
Exactly.
into the street. I would make it known that I'm coming. I put my arm up like a traffic person and be like, "Hold on, I gotta get this unicorn out the street real quick."
She said a
And
unicorn.
that's what it was. That's
That's
what
what
it
it
was.
was.
It was a little stuffed unicorn. Yep.
Nah. You could just run over that. I'll go find a new one. No. I can't. Not a shoe, not a stuffed animal, not a toy. No.
Thinking of the rest of the day. So if I would have let that unicorn just stay in the street, get run over by the cars, I would have to deal with this for the rest of the day. It's just gonna kill the day. So
So see, that's funny because so she's soft, like she holds on, like she gets attached to her stuffed animals.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, if the stuffed animal was with us to begin with, like it was important for her to have it with her.
See, I was always able to negotiate with my kid because there's been a few times he lost things. There and very. Do you
Mm.
remember that fucking Buzz Lightyear that would walk and talk and like lights turned on? It was like
Yes.
it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Yes.
I had no
Yeah.
business getting that shit. His father took him one weekend and took the Buzz Lightyear and it went missing.
Oh no.
Guess what he had to do? My
Get
man's
another
went
one
from Queens all the way to somewhere in Carajola, New Jersey
to find
to
it.
find it. That same night, I had to go get it because the
Mm.
kid was not letting it go, but was not letting it go with him. Because with me, I was always pretty good with
Yeah.
negotiating with my kid.
Right.
And like, it's okay. Sometimes we lose things. Like my theory in life is, if
Mhm.
someone finds it, maybe they needed it more than us. Like that's my theory
Right.
in life. Like you ever lost
Right.
$100 or $20? Because I have. I'd be talking to myself like, you know what's easy? Maybe somebody needed those $100. It hurts me, but maybe somebody else needed it, and I try and make myself
Right.
better.
Hmm.
But I just feel like, for one, I'm not making it in 10 seconds to the middle of the street. Let's just be honest. My legs are
Yeah.
too short. And two, like, then I gotta, like, for me to stop traffic, like, I look like this angry little person. Like,
You gotta jump
I
in the
gotta
air
jump,
so
like,
they can see you over
please.
the hood.
Like, it's not gonna function. But I feel you though, because to be fair, guys, and let me just be very transparent, I only have one child. Kim has 3 children. So I want to be sympathetic to that because my sister had back to back 2 kids. So they used to think they were twins.
Wow.
And they used to tag team against my sister. They had little plans, these little things, like these little people, they tag team sometimes against the parents. And my sister used to be like the one who will risk her life just to rescue a toy. And I never understood why, but I get it. Okay, I have a third one. This one's going to be a little intense. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
Mm.
you have started to work out again at the gym.
Speaking to me right now.
You're working on your upper body. So you're doing your lateral pull-ups, your chest presses, certain machinery that requires your hands on these equipments, right? And there's a person who is also using this same equipment. You notice he's, doing this stuff, and then, he stands off to the corner. He pulls down his mask and he wipes his nose with the back of his hand.
Mm.
And you notice he doesn't clean up. He doesn't go hand sanitize, nothing. Here you are, you're sanitizing everything. What do you do in that instance?
I'll probably give him a really nasty look.
I feel you.
Even if I had to wait for him to make eye contact or look in my direction, because I want him to know that I saw that. And then, I mean, I guess, I don't know if I would say something to him. I mean, if he, all right. So if I gave him that look and he peeped the look, and if he gave me a look back, then I'm going to say something to him. Or if he tried to approach me, I would definitely say something to him.
Right.
Aside from that, I think my arm workout is done. I'm going to move on to the legs. I'm going to take my sanitizer with me. I'm going to go over there away from your nasty ass.
My feet and my sneakers are fine at this point. Oh my God.
So I like people to know that I know.
Yes.
No, I know, but I'm not gonna try and start like a fight at the gym.
Right.
But I like yeah.
So I have a confession. I've been meaning to start my training again with my personal trainer. You guys have heard him on the show a couple of times with Rick. One of the things that I have been concerned about in starting again is definitely that part. And I know I just recently talked about the difference between judgmental and being judgy, but I'm gonna judge you if you're doing some dumb shit like that, especially at the gym, right?
Right.
Because
Where
like,
everything is, it's known the situation we're in right now, right?
right. And like, even though it's like the risk is really low, like we don't want that risk to go higher. And so I wanted to know about the whole what would you do in that scenario, because I do think it's so important to be protective of ourselves.
Right. I think that's the number one thing. Like I've been in situations on the train like that before, and like I said before, my thing is like I want you to know that I peeped it. I'm not just walking to the other side of the train because, there's more space. I want you to know I'm walking to the other side of the train because I saw you hacking all over the damn place with your mask on your chin.
Mm,
So I'm gonna be like,
mm, mm.
I'm going over there. Like, you
Yes.
see me going over there, it's because you're being disgusting.
I could see
Like,
I could see Kim like doing like a dance move as she's walking away, like to the other side, looking at you mad sideways, like I saw you, like on a whole vibe to make
I'm a
it.
moon, I'm a moon my walk my ass
She's
over
gonna
there.
moonwalk.
You
I
see me? You see me? You nasty.
could see you do like real graciously and stylish, like with a whole vibe. But I saw you. I saw
I saw
you.
you.
So
Yeah.
okay, so I didn't have this as a scenario, but I'm gonna put the twist on it right now. I'm the type that I like to drink my coffee on the way to work. So what I
Okay.
do is I find a corner. I go to the corner of the trains to be like to
Hmm.
myself so I can put my mask down and drink my coffee if I happen to not have a straw. Like, does that bother you? Because if it does, I would totally take that into account and I would like chug my coffee before I even get on the train.
Honestly, I haven't encountered anyone doing that. But
Okay.
it's funny because I used to be the one to take my coffee on the train too. And I stopped because my concern was like, that might bother other people. So maybe I'll just wait until I get work,
Mm,
wait till I get off the bus to grab a coffee.
mm-hmm.
I mean, as long as it's like, I see people take their mask off for things, wipe their nose, whatever. Like, as long as you just do it and put it back on, it don't bother me.
Okay. Okay.
It's just, as long as you're not just sitting there and then, you're like
Yeah.
blowing your nose and you keep your mask down and shit like that,
I
you
was
know.
actually watching, and I don't know if you saw that they're bringing back a Sex in the City version, to TVs near us for HBO. I think it's still HBO, but Sex in the City is coming back. Just like 3 out of the 4. It seems like.
Yes. Yeah.
It seems like one person got kicked out. I don't know.
That's a whole different
It's a
drama.
whole different drama. Or I think maybe just Samantha's not in it, like into the whole life anymore. I don't know. But Sex in the City is coming back. And for those of you that don't know, please just Google Sex in the City so you understand why this is exciting for some of us, right? But I was watching the movie. And I don't know if you've ever watched either one of
I
the Sex and
haven't
the City movies.
I
Okay.
haven't seen the movies, so.
So the movie where the second one, after Carrie is married, they go to Abu Dhabi and they have such a beautiful place that they show in the movie and such a beautiful culture. And they have the one of the ladies and she's covering her mouth. And I was watching it and I love that movie. And that's one of the scenes I love the most because it's interesting to see like the difference between one culture versus the other, but just so
Yeah.
beautiful, the whole scene, right?
Yeah.
And Carrie goes, wow, like that's commitment. Because this lady, she picks it up just to eat one fry at a time.
Oh, wow.
And so I was watching that and my kid walks in and he goes, huh, the irony, ma. And now we're putting down our masks just to eat one fry. And when he said that, I was like, oh, like I didn't even realize how us coming from here, we were looking at something like that, like, wow, per fry, she lifts up her hijab. Obviously, she cannot take it off. And I hope I'm saying it correctly. I hope I'm saying it with the way it's supposed to be said. You know, it's her culture. It's
Mhm.
part of her culture. It's part of her attire. It's part of her commitment and her respect. But it was interesting at that time because Carrie sees that in the movie. She's like, oh, wow, like she lifts it up every time just to have a fry. And now, essentially, like if we're on the go and my son wants a order of fries from, let's say, Wendy's, he has to bring down his mask to eat one fry at a time. And
Yeah.
so it was pretty comical that he even observed that. And I didn't even think of that, but I was like, that'd be me on the train though. I'd be putting down my mask to take a sip of coffee and then I put my mask
Yeah.
back on. It was very interesting to
Mhm.
see that what our new life is like. For some
Yeah,
people,
that
it's been common their whole lives.
right. Something that's so normal, that has been so normal in another culture is now something that we're trying to normalize now.
Yep, yep.
Wild, right?
It's
Yeah.
crazy. So it totally like it made me think about that, and that just came up just in this conversation alone. So crazy. Yeah, I am a Sex and the City fan, so you guys should definitely check it out. You never know what you might learn a thing or two. So we're gonna go right into the first segment of the show, which is as raw as it gets. And on this segment, we highlight different stuff about life, adulthood, sex, relationships, and relationships, sometimes even some news and current events, right? But for this episode and for this segment, I am titling it Time's Up. The reason why is because like I said in the beginning, I want to highlight this part of relationships that a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking about, don't come to the forefront to really discuss and dive into on a very individual and personal level. And quite frankly, I cannot speak on it from a committed relationship standpoint. I can speak on it on having dealt with certain people for a very long time. And then just like learning how to walk away when something no longer serves you or is no longer conducive to where your life journey is going, right? And so I had reached out via social media, just asking, hey, who would be interested in coming to speak on walking away or ending a 10 plus year relationship, whether it having to be married or not. It's not a must. A relationship is a relationship. But I wanted someone to be able to have this conversation with me and highlight, because I will say this. I've walked away from a marriage, but it was not a 10 plus year marriage. And so I think the longer you are with a person, the harder it is to be able to walk away from
Mhm.
that. And
Yeah.
that is something that I cannot, no matter how strong I think I am, I can't attest to that. Like I don't know what that's like to have that level of courage and to do that. So uh, getting out of a 10 plus year relationship, marriage, share a little bit with me of how long you were with this person, and how that relationship looked at from the outside in.
Oh, the outside in.
Interesting, right?
Okay. Yeah. So, I I was married for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, maybe a little over between 13 and 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
And from the outside looking in, there were a lot of people that what's the word I'm looking for? People thought we had an amazing relationship. There were a lot of people that would, seek out advice because they thought we had it together. And, we had a lot of ups and downs that people were aware of, but we held it together. Well, so it seemed we were holding it together. So people would, they would assume that, we had some formula, we had something. We had something that we could share with them to let them know, like, this is why we're together. In all actuality, it was very, very different on the inside, very almost completely opposite on the inside of that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that we need to highlight. And that's exactly why I posed the question of how may it have looked at from the outside in?
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, we are able to choose what we show and how we
Yep.
show it. And so
Mhm.
I'll be very honest, people were very much so surprised the way my marriage unfolded and dismantled, because
Yeah.
as vocal as I am today with a whole show, this was not me back then
Yeah.
at all. So
Yeah.
that's exactly why I asked that question that way. So it's interesting. People would come to you guys because of how they viewed you
Yeah.
guys.
We used to get a lot of like, "Oh, you guys are such a beautiful couple. Oh, you have such a lovely family. Oh, you guys are doing it right. You guys are, you're the example." And it was so hard because on the inside, I was hurting, I was broken. I was like, y'all got no idea, like, no idea the things that we're dealing with, going through. Um, it did bring a lot of shame. I felt like not so much that it was, not like it was an act, but it was like so much hidden. It was just so much hidden, so much unspoken. And not that you need to publicize your relationship, but I think that when you're actively trying to only portray the positive things, and it kind of bites you in the ass a little bit when it gets to the point where things are kind of falling apart and then people are like, what? I can't believe this. You guys were so perfect, you know? And then it's like trying to get people to understand and believe the things that you were really dealing with. That's a whole nother part of it, you know, and it further impacts those shameful feelings. And not that you're ever doing anything for anyone else, but that outside is always a pressure and it's always going to be there. For me, it was also a big part of it was, you know, my belief system. And everybody has belief systems. Everybody is raised a certain way. And those are things that are ingrained in you. And sometimes you don't choose these things, but everyone has a belief system. And I don't know if you've I think you posted actually the four agreements.
Yes.
That's did I name it right? Is the four agreements? Yeah, I read that book a long time ago, and you know that's a big part of it. They focus on your belief systems, and sometimes you have to think about what you believe and why you believe it. And that was a big part of what I had to dig into when my relationship was coming to an end.
Whew, it's an awakening in itself. It is a book, and I'll definitely link it in the show notes for anybody who's interested. Because it's funny, right? You said like no one knew, no one had any idea. So it's like you were dealing with all of this internally, right? With whatever it was that you were dealing with your relationship, with your spouse, with just like, because at this point, it really, and this is what people don't understand. It doesn't necessarily have to be that it was just your interactions with the other person. It could be a multitude of things that could happen in a marriage that could really affect the entire relationship. It could
Right,
be
right.
life, the environment, where you're living, how you're living, differences in beliefs sometimes,
Mhm,
family involvements, whether it's in your control or not, your side, his side. Like there's just so much that could financial matters sometimes just can
mhm,
really turn a whole relationship
mhm,
upside down. And it
mhm.
could really
Children?
the children, they could really put you through a whole test essentially.
Yeah,
And so it doesn't just have to be one thing. It's not about whose fault was it. It doesn't
right.
automatically have to be just that. So for you to be able to share and say like no one knew and I was dealing with all of this internally. When you hear
Right.
like someone say all of this, the word all could just mean so many things at once.
Mhm.
And it could be very I some people say draining. I like to say drowning, because you feel like you're at the surface just trying to breathe
Yes.
and literally not drown. You're trying to still
Mhm.
survive.
Yeah.
And when was it in your relationship? By when I mean time frame, like at what point did it, did that alarm go off for you? I don't like the word hiding, because I too kept it to myself.
Mhm.
But because you were the only person like there for you, like when is it that those alarms started going off that you really had to like start looking at yourself and say, shit, something's wrong, this may not be it.
So, okay, to be very honest, it was quite early. I'm a very intuitive person, and like I feel things very, very deeply. You know, without giving you like too much of like, you know, a backstory, I got married pretty young. I had no business getting married, right? But I did. I got married. There was always a little part of me that knew I was jumping into something too soon, but I also had a lot of hope. You know, when you're young, you think you got everything under control and you're gonna make this work. But you haven't lived life. You don't know what the fuck life really is, right? I was 21 years
Say
old,
that. Oof.
thinking I was grown, you know, and you know, things happened that shook us as two young adults. You know, we were struggling, financial issues, infidelities already,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I, you know, throughout my marriage, there were multiple times where, you know, I walked away for a little while, took a break. Some of those times I thought I was never going to come back, but I did because I held on to this hope and also my belief system. And, you're married, you make it work. I grew up in church. That's another huge component where, divorce is looked down upon like you're going to be shunned and, God doesn't like divorce and all those things. So, after having a series of these pretty big breaks in our relationship, it was finally when I matured, when I started growing and seeing things differently and questioning my belief systems and questioning, you know, why am I fighting for something when I'm the only one willing to fight, willing to grow? It was probably already past 10 years that I finally was like, okay, I can't do this anymore,
Right. Right.
I mean, I don't know if you want to hear about the scenarios or the specifics, but I guess generally speaking, when I finally started to focus on my own individual growth, you realize where everything else is still stagnant. That's when I was like, I can't exhaust myself anymore.
And isn't it interesting that that's what it was that took you to that point, right? Just to say,
Hmm.
no, finally, this is it. Like, all it takes is that. I always like to call it the cherry on top, because it's like
Yes.
everything else you've already been through, forgiven, tolerated,
Hmm.
survived. And I
Hmm.
say that
Looked
in
past.
quotations, right? You look
Right.
past it, you forget, like, not forget. I'm not gonna say forget because I don't think we ever really forget, but we're
You
able to
don't.
put it in the back. It
Hmm.
takes a seat all the way in the back. It's like it's there when you look back, it's there, it happened. But
Hmm.
we still move forward, right? We get
Right.
a little closer to that finish line. And it's like, how crazy is it that all it takes is just that one smaller thing, that in reality it's not so small, it's pretty huge, right? It's pretty
Yeah.
huge when you realize everything I've been through with this person.
Hmm.
Excuse that noise in the background because traffic outside is being very disrespectful right now.
What the hell's going on in the
I don't
Bronx?
know. And I'm trying not to be that person who goes outside to argue with whoever's honking the horn
That
like
would
that.
be so great to hear, though, Daisy. I'm not gonna lie.
Because I be doing shit like that. They were doing construction across the street one day and I was about to record. And I was like, excuse me, it's the weekend. I went and I found the foreman. There's a foreman who runs the entire construction site in any
Yeah.
place. I found the foreman. I was like, who's your foreman? I need to talk to your foreman right this second. And they're like, he's over there. I said, well, get him out because I run a business from my house and you guys are ruining my life right now. So get
Ooh,
him out. I got the foreman's number. Like, they be acting out with that construction. I be calling the foreman. I don't care. I'm one of those. I
I
got the
love it.
foreman's number. I be seeing him when they arrive Monday through Friday. I'm like, hi. He's like, hey, everything's okay. Like, you can record, because I was like, yo, I run a whole show. Like, what's wrong with y'all? Okay, I think
Tune
the
in.
like, come on. I think the traffic calmed down. So when you think about I was gonna talk about when you were feeling stagnant, with him. Um, you think of everything else he's already done. To your point, early on, infidelities happened. And so, listen. A lot of people will say, nah, if you cheat, I'm out. Pause, because you don't know what you're going to do until you're in that situation.
Right. I always say that too. You just don't know.
You just don't.
And it's not just what you would do,
Yes.
because it's what and how the two of you handle that situation. A lot of it comes down to the other person. And if you're willing to accept how they're going to handle it
Mm-hmm.
with you. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree. I think there's a huge difference. And maybe some of you women are probably going to disagree with me. Maybe some of you men too. I happen to know some men who are very like, never, I will never forgive my spouse or my partner if they cheat on me. Here's the thing. I think there's a huge difference when you have people who happen to have that indiscretion versus they live a double life. I think there's a huge difference between those two type of people. uh, a lot of people will truly believe that it is possible to be 1000% faithful for the rest of your life. Do I believe that's possible? Yes. I've seen it, as far as I know, from the outside in to other people's relationships who choose to show that. However, I also happen to know people who have been married for 20 plus years, who both parties have cheated on each other. They don't know that I know, but I know. They are still married. They've figured out a way to work through that. They are still being successful with their marriages, owning properties, owning this, owning that, having businesses. I don't think that it is realistic to say that automatically an infidelity is a deal breaker and it should be easy for anyone to just walk away from that. But when you think about the point to time and the point to maturity, you reach
Mhm.
the level where that person was no longer at your level. And here you are, and you're like, hold up, this person is making me feel stagnant, or I just feel this way, and or they're holding you back.
Right.
And while that doesn't seem like a huge thing, it is.
It's
Because
me.
it's like we're evolving every fucking day, we're evolving. And so you really essentially want that person who's going to be with you to be able to evolve with you. And if they're not, then the fact is that they are holding you back.
Right.
That's the fact.
And I think having respect for your evolution is huge too. So even if someone's not evolving at the same pace as you, if they can see what you're doing and how you're growing and and hold a certain level of respect for that and not make you feel like you're doing something wrong or you're pushing them aside or like what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Um I think that in those scenarios, if someone respects you in that area, you may be able to give them some time to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if there's disrespect there,
Mm-hmm. That's it. It's a wrap.
that's it's there's nothing you can do with that at that point.
Absolutely.
And that for me was a major part of like opening my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt my growth. I was actively trying to grow.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part. Like you don't just sit back, you don't just wake up one morning and then you're different. You're
Right.
like, "Oh, that was a great night's sleep. Wow, I feel so mature today." Like, it's a process and it's a journey that you're aware of and you're actively participating in your growth. And knowing you're doing all of this work and your partner is shitting on it, that's a different, like, and especially when, like, in my case, I was doing it for me, but I also thought I was doing it for us, right? Like, I thought, I'm gonna try to better myself and, you know, maybe me working in this or on that will help us. And then to get kind of shitted on
Mm-hmm.
about it, it's like, okay, wait a minute. So that was a big part of it for me. And it was literally in one moment.
Oh, you.
In one moment,
That's what I was gonna ask you. Was it? Did it? It was it like a lot of things, or was it just like that one
it
thing? Like
was a
that.
shit ton of things going on, right?
Right.
So we were, even though I was in such a bad and fucked up and broken place, I was full of anxiety, I was
Mm-hmm.
depressed. Even though I was finding myself pushing through every day,
Uh-huh.
still working on things,
Mm-hmm.
like going to therapy, reading, trying to pull myself out of that dark space. Um, I was still in it. I was still in the relationship to an extent where I had some hope, you
Was
know,
it love?
until hope is fully, um, it was love was part of it.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Although I was not in love,
Uh-huh.
the love was still there. Like, you know, a long relationship with children and having had gone through so many experiences and still coming out of them, like you're able to build a type of love for somebody that, you know, that part may be unshakable.
Got it.
That,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but like there was so much, so much, so much, so much bullshit going on. Like everything was fucked up. I can't express that any like it was
No,
bad.
that's like
But I
more than enough
still
to know that it was all of it was like all
every
fucked up.
area, every single find every area that you were mentioning
Yeah.
earlier, find it all of them.
Yeah.
Check off all the fucking boxes. That's where I was.
And
It
you
was affecting me to my health.
oof.
It
Oh.
was affecting me to the point where my doctors were testing me for MS. My anxiety was
Oh
making
my
my body
God.
think that like shit was wild,
Oh my
but I was still
God.
there.
Wow.
And it wasn't until this one single moment, this one single phrase came out of his mouth. And in that moment, like I knew. And I told him in that moment, I want a divorce. I don't think he thought I was gonna go through with it, but after that, I couldn't look at him the same. I couldn't look at our relationship the same. It's like answers just started falling out of the sky all of a sudden and
Mm-hmm.
things were making sense. And I was able to like look at everything that we had gone through from the very beginning to getting married to my reasons why I thought it was okay to get
Right.
married to where we are now. I could see it's like I could see so clearly that I just I kn- I it, we weren't ever gonna get out of this. The cycles were too many and the damage was just increasing.
And I could edit this out. Do you care to say what the phrase was? Because that actually just triggered me to want to say my one and done phrase.
The phrase and maybe I have to give you context to it, but the
Mm-hmm.
phrase was I am superior to everyone.
No context needed.
And
Mm.
to which I replied, everyone. And then it was said, it was like a list of people that he was spiritual. And I said, even me? And he said, yes, even you. And I was like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good, homie. you know, I I don't need to even have a conversation about this. I was done.
Right. Right. It's funny he said that. Mine was actually it is that one phrase. It's all actually I don't even think Kim and I as much as we have discussed this here and there.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever shared that it was just like this one phrase. Mine was you treat me bad, you think you're better than me.
Mm,
And what I realized it was the reverse psychology.
the projection.
Yes. It was everything else, right? So much context behind that to say how much I was trying to do for him, how much I was trying to help him based on what he would say he wanted, based on what he would say how he wanted to progress and be successful and do certain things. And I was in a position where I could do that for us, for our family. But it was that reverse psychology.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame you for having that one phrase really help you change your mind
Right.
about just the whole thing. And again, that may seem something so simple to people. Like, really, that's all it was? Like, so it wasn't like the cheating. It wasn't like this. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
just everything else. All these boxes checked off. No, unfortunately, sometimes when we are in situations where we do have a family, where we do have children, and even when you don't have children, but you've been with that person for so long and you've been married and you've been through so much, it doesn't like you can have 15 boxes checked off of how shitty the situation might be. But when you do still have a little bit of love there, and when you do still have that sense of hope, right? Because like him, to me, I've always been raised that like just divorce is not an option. Like you cannot be divorced. You can't do that. Oh, you're a mom now, you can't be a single mother.
Right.
Like it was just so frowned upon, for me,
Mm-hmm.
culturally too. And just like, growing up going to church. My mom had 4 kids, and the one child she made go to church and have all her sacraments till the very end was me. I had to go to church with her every single Sunday. I had to get my confirmation, my communion. every single thing. Like, why did she pick me? I don't know. I don't think I'm her favorite, but she picked me to do this. She didn't force my other siblings, but I was definitely the one. And I completed all the sacraments and beyond for that divorce, let me tell you. But I
He's just
sure
like, I
did.
earned this divorce.
I'm entitled to it. No, I'm joking. But it goes with the shame. It goes with the, oh, like, do I really, like, oh my God, what are people going to think?
Mhm.
Which is why, ladies and gentlemen, I now have a podcast, and I've grown to be that person to not ever again give a fuck about what people think. I will never again be that person to put at the forefront what people feel, say, or think about me, and let that determine where my life goes.
Right.
This is exactly why. The only difference is it only took me a couple of years, and it took you 10 plus, more than 10 years to get there.
Mhm.
And again, I want to highlight, the more children you have, it gets harder.
Right.
The
The more children you have, also the more people that you have involved in your
Yes,
relationship.
that's the other part. Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
if you want me to be a little bit more honest, part of the reason that I got married was because of the involvement of other people.
Of other people. Okay.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And it goes all entangled with, the belief system and the faith I
Mm,
grew up in. And so I, you know, I was pregnant when I got
right.
married. So
Okay.
that's a huge piece I should share. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, it was a part of it was making it right with God.
Copy.
So, you know, ultimately, I can't put the blame on anyone else. I did make the decision to get married. I was young, I was in love, and you have this vision of, what marriage is supposed to be, and
Right.
but that involvement of other people was definitely a huge factor as well in wanting to please other people,
Mm-hmm.
and wanting to do things right.
Mm-hmm.
So you push
I like that. The right.
you push your feelings and your voice to the back
Mm-hmm.
burner because this is the way it has to be. This is the
Right.
way I was raised. This is what I know to be the right way to do things. So
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. The right. Oh, fuck. Y'all know I vibe with La Chato. La Chato's my mom. And one of the things we are able to today talk about and face together is, I tried to get out of getting married. I to the very end, I did not want to get married. I didn't care that there was a wedding. I didn't care that there was a wedding dress. I didn't care that there was a church. I don't know if I've ever said this on any episode. Ooh, but it was so bad. You ever seen when somebody's about to pass out in the bathroom because they were drinking at the bar or the club, and they're like throwing up at the toilet, and in like the little, that was me at the hair salon, and I wasn't even drinking. I got so sick that morning. I knew I wanted out. I did not want to do it. And bless my mom, bless her, because today we're able to talk about this, and we're able to just realize just how strong our relationship is today because of realizing how fucked up that situation was. When she saw me like that, my sister saw me. My sister said, if you don't want to do it, we'll just run right now. We'll go. It's okay, Daisy. And I kept saying, I don't want to. And my mom said, you have to.
mm,
You have to get married. You cannot not get married. It's crazy, right? Because I always knew my mom and my sister have my back for everything and anything, even when I'm wrong. They'll tell me I'm fucked up and I'm wrong. I'll probably argue, but they'll always have my back. But it was interesting how in that moment, like, they had just two really different mindsets. They
yeah.
had two very different opinions about what I should do. And I still went ahead and went through with my wedding. And it wasn't so much because of what they told me. It was actually something that happened that day with him that I thought that was a sign of hope.
Mm.
And it was that he got a look at me before the wedding. And he, how crazy, right? When you're in love or you still love someone and you try to find that little piece of hope.
Yeah, you can
And all he said
make
was,
anything into that.
anything,
Like,
anything,
yeah.
anything. And all he said was, you just look so beautiful today. And I can't wait to marry you. And I was like, no,
And
no.
when you think back on that now, do you want to kick yourself?
Every day. Every day I do, because I don't regret my kid. I love my kid, and I say this a million times over and over again. But there's just so much that happened after that that I could have possibly avoided and prevented for my own health and my own sanity, that could have possibly been healthier to our co-parenting much sooner.
Right.
Because that part of our relationship took 10 plus years to figure out.
The co-parenting.
So yeah, the co-parenting. So there's certain things I do regret, there's certain things I don't. There's certain things that I take a lot of pride in with between him and I today. That it wasn't always the easiest, and it wasn't always the best, and it wasn't in an essence, and I shared with this on episode, I think it was 29, how verbally and emotionally and mentally abusive the relationship really was, and debilitating to me. But where we are today, how we were able to forgive and move forward and be stronger parents is amazing, and I take a lot of pride in that. And I'm very proud of him and where he is today as a parent. But there is probably something that we could have helped ourselves with much sooner had we not gotten married. And I think that's the part where it probably should have been the both of us to realize that.
Right.
But we didn't. We didn't. And I don't think this is why I want him on the show, and I have yet to convince him. He like kind of wants to, but kind of like, oh, I don't know if he's ready to really talk about like what it was for him. And I don't know if he trusts that I will not get offended at all whatsoever, because I really do genuinely love his wife. He is married today. But I do think it's important to really be that transparent and that open, especially with the person who you share a child with, and like where we are today, you know, and you never know who that could resonate with, essentially.
Right.
It's not an easy journey, and it's a very difficult transition to face, because now it's like, you know how this whole time like you were trying to make things work with that person, and then it's that one moment you realize, nah, fuck this, like now I gotta do it just for me.
It's a total lane change now.
Complete. And
like
then you're at this point, you're driving by yourself. But in actuality, had you not been already driving by yourself this whole time?
Right. But now you're thinking about this differently, because you were driving by yourself, whether you recognized it or not. You were driving by yourself, but you had in mind the relationship as a whole the whole time. So now the goal is different. Now the goal is not mending, fixing, and figuring out how to make the relationship heal. It's now, okay, I need to heal and figure out, where am I going by myself now with my kids, and all those areas that were issues between the two of you, you now have to figure out on your own.
Absolutely.
So it's a big, big shift. And I think that's what makes it so hard and scary for a lot of people that have been in these really long relationships, is there's a huge fear factor. And I was scared as shit. I was like, hold on. I had never lived on my own ever. I went from moms to a marriage home,
Yeah.
I had 3 children.
3 babies.
Children. Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Finances were already difficult between the two of us. So how am I going to do this with just mine? Like, it's scary. It's really, really scary. And then on top of that, while you're trying to figure all these things out for yourself, you still have that other person saying, doing, trying to discourage you, maybe begging for you not to go. Those things, girl, that might be another episode altogether.
And then y'all know Kim is a softie, right? So
I'm soft.
we already know what she would do in certain scenarios, and so she's soft. But you know what? I'm not even gonna lie on that, because I always say I'm a G and I'm a tough bitch, but I definitely stopped my tracks at the door with bags packed when I was begged to not go. I definitely held back too. So it really, at that point, it's just like, it's like literally your heart is getting tugged back. And if like you keep moving forward, you feel like, oh, I'm being an evil bitch.
Right. But you know what, for me, because I definitely had so many of those moments where, he was trying to stop me, persuade me, fuck me, like all those things.
Yeah.
And it's like, I had to physically like sit and tell myself to think back, Kim, because it's not the first time. Like you did that already. You know, you went back. You you put that back there in the file in the back of the like you did all those things already. But
Mm-hmm.
yet you're here again. Like
Right. You were coaching yourself. You were pep talking
I was
yourself.
definitely pep talking myself. And I think honestly, the only reason why I was able to, from that moment that those words were said, to follow through and really like go down that journey by myself to leaving the relationship was because I had already, while still in the relationship, I had already started working on myself.
Right. That's what helped you.
That's the only thing. Like I was already building up my strength. I was already, you know, recognizing my growth and going with that flow. I was already, although I was still there and I hadn't made that final decision that I couldn't be in this relationship anymore,
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was over. You
Mm.
know, I don't know
Mm.
if that makes any sense.
It
I knew
does.
it was over, but I hadn't let go yet.
Oh, it makes fucking perfect sense with any type of a fucking relationship. When you know it's reached its expiration date, and but you still have a hard time, and it's like take and it's the smallest thing. Like I was cleaning out the closet and getting rid of old clothes that I've kept in there, that I've still worn here and there, but it no longer looks great how it did in the beginning.
Mm,
You know, that sweater doesn't look all the way right, but I still kind of liked it. I'm so attached to the color. I love how it looks with certain lipstick, and it was hard for me to let it go hard, but damn, it's like, has the time passed? Yeah, like, am I still that attached as I was from the beginning? Like, this is over. That's it, Days. Like, you gotta let it go. Literally, that was the fight I was having with a piece, like an article of clothing. Then
mm,
you think about it, that's sort of like the same fucking battle I've had with
right.
certain people.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about where I wore it, how long I've had it, how good it looked, like the good times. You think about all these good times before you really open up your eyes to like what life has truly been.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, at some point, like times have changed. I've
Mhm.
evolved. Times have evolved. Like I have to let you go.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a whole sweater.
Mhm.
And here I am also deciding that on people too.
Yeah.
And that does sometimes have to be the way your conversation goes, even when it is a marriage of 10
Yeah.
plus years,
Yeah.
even when it is that type of a point where it's like, what is that cherry on top? What is the time's up?
Mhm.
What was that moment? And all it takes is just that one moment
Right.
for you to say, no, this is it.
Mhm.
I am done and
Yeah.
I'm walking away. Like,
Yeah.
this is it.
Yeah.
Where you are today and your growth and working on yourself, we're going to go right into the double or nothing. And this one is called It's Time She Speaks Free.
Mm, mm,
Keeping it raw.
mm.
Let me just say this. I don't follow many bloggers, but my top two favorites are definitely Brooklyn bloggers. They are females, Kim being one of them. She speaks free. Shout out to my previous guest, Sweet Minty. She
Yeah,
is a good friend and she has an amazing blog too.
she
I will,
does.
of course, link both pages so you guys can check them out. Words are very powerful. There's a power in words, and it's so powerful when we're reading them, but also writing them. You've started this blog, you started this journey, and and where I see you from the beginning to where you are today and what you share, there's just so much that has resonated with me. There's so much that resonates with so many people about just life experiences and relationships and just life in general. In general, about self love, self care, self growth. And where is your purpose now with this blog? The beginning of it to where you are today. What has helped you in living in your real time?
So, all right. I've been writing for a really long time. I always found such a amazing release with writing. Um, I used to write just to challenge myself. Something that I like to do. I don't know if I've ever done it with you, but I'll ask like a random person to give me a word, any word, and I'll write something with that word. Um, I just I don't know, like words and stringing words together just to evoke like a feeling. I just find so much joy in that. And it's always been like a very personal thing for me. So, fast forward to, ending my relationship and this journey that I've been on since then. Um, when I was in my relationship, I felt like my voice was like I felt like I was being muted. I felt like I couldn't truly express myself the way I wanted to. I felt like there was an image in my marriage. I felt like because there were too many people involved in certain things and because people saw us a certain way, I couldn't truly ever express myself the way I wanted to. So I was like, you know what, now that it's over, I'm going to speak freely. And that's where She Speaks Free comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still developing my voice in that area. So when I first started, it was very like secretive. It was very like, I'm gonna start this page on Instagram and nobody's gonna know who I am. I'm just gonna say some shit on there and I'm gonna put my little poetry out there because that's something that I've never done before. Writing was always very personal. It was always in journals. And so I was like, okay, I want to start letting some of this out. The purpose was twofold. It was for me, because writing is therapy and getting my voice out was going to be like the next step of growth for me, but also wanting to know, wanting to share things that I know are relatable. And sometimes people don't find those other people to relate with. So I wanted people to know, like, yo, I know, I got you. I feel that too. And that's where the blog came from. So after the Instagram page, I was like, I'm going to start a blog. And it was actually something I discussed with my therapist. She encouraged me fully to do this because my therapist is like the cover girl for self care. And she, I can't tell you how many times she's drilled these things into me. And I love and appreciate that so much because I've grown so much because of the things she shared with me. And so I started the blog. And again, it was going to be like just a thing for me,
Yeah.
little secret blog over here. I'm going to type my stuff
Mm-hmm.
out
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, you know what? Fuck that.
Yes.
How the hell am I speaking free if nobody knows about what I'm writing? That's make no damn sense. And so I decided to just share it, not really knowing what the purpose was going to be. It's just a bunch of stuff on there. Um, and so now I'm going down this journey of trying to create like a place where the focus is self-care, but from so many different angles, because I don't think people truly understand what self-care is and really owning themselves fully,
Ooh.
right? And there's so many avenues of self-care out there. It's not just pampering yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and I hate that that's what's portrayed so much, It's definitely part of it, but there's so much more. There's the mind, there's the body, there's a soul aspect, and then bringing it all together to like
Yes.
fully honor your being. Girl, that's the purpose. It's not really like I don't like to say like educational because I don't see myself as like a teacher, but just sharing my experience, knowing that so many people can relate. When you think that nobody gets it, there's always somebody out there that gets it. And it may not look exactly the same as your situation, but like everything's connected.
I will tell you this. Someone told me that even if I don't try and teach, the moment one person just learns one thing from me, you are a teacher.
Mm, I like that.
So even if that wasn't my intent,
Right.
if just that moment one person just learns one thing from you, if at one moment anything you did was mentoring for them,
Hmm.
that's how you've become the mentor. So someone told me that because, in different things, it's like, but I wasn't trying to, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's how the person received it.
Yeah.
even if you really wasn't trying to.
Yeah.
That's how the person received it. So
Very true.
it goes
Yeah.
it goes a long way. You guys definitely check out Kim's blog. Of course, I'm going to link everything in the show notes because I will say this. I could say it now. In the year that I know Kim officially,
We just had our
we
anniversary.
did. It was like our anniversary. We've like actually met because I have been listening to her for quite some time already, and of actually meeting. Again, we've had our very responsibly quarantine drinking happy hour moments. We've definitely hung out, you know. So we have had conversations here and there, but even when I go to your blog, there's just so much that taps in for me and resonates for me. And so it just goes to show that you never know what people are going through or what people might be experiencing when just our words or our voices can just touch a person's soul and just help them in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
And so I definitely encourage you guys to go check out her blog. I wanted to shine light on it because I think it just goes to the true testimony of what you have to be in your journey of coming out of something and just starting a whole brand new journey.
Yeah.
And this being one of those aspects of it. And I think it's something to be very proud of and just so amazing. When just in everything that you felt in your relationship and what you're able to do today for yourself. I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
Yes. And I wanted to share that with people because I can only imagine the fear some people are experiencing and realizing, you know, this isn't no more for me. But how do I do it? I'm so afraid, and not necessarily afraid of, an abusive part, but just afraid of having to really take that step, of having to transition out of something, and you just never know who might be struggling with that. Now, let me be very clear on something. I absolutely encourage people that if you do still feel that there's love, then you keep working through it. If you do think that couples therapy might work, then go for it.
Right.
Go for it.
Right.
What I did want this to be of a purpose to shine light on is I don't think anything is ever going to work where it takes two people when only one person is working.
Right.
That's the part.
Right. And I just want to say for anyone that is getting into an extremely committed relationship, like whether it's marriage or moving in together, people always say like, everything's 50-50, and it's not. It's 100. Like the recipe for a great relationship is two people that are 100 in themselves, or at least seeking to be 100, to being solid, healed, like individuals come with so much. And then when you try and put those two things together, so many scenarios, so many things can happen. But as long as you're committed to your individual growth and your individual journey, and that other person is the same, shit is not gonna be perfect, but at least you're both gonna be on the same road together.
Get there. Right.
Yes. And then
Right.
if you're already in a relationship, right? And things are coming at you guys have to be on that same growth road together. If one of you is not, I can't say it's never gonna work, but it's gonna make it that much more difficult. And the fight for your relationship is gonna be that much harder. So I think those are like little indicators for people to try and remember, like, are we both trying to grow? Are we both working on ourselves and the relationship?
I agree. I agree 1000%. And the only reason why I can say that today is because part of my self growth and part of my journey, and anyone who has tuned in and knows this about me as a single woman who's been single with different types of relationships and situationships here and there, it has definitely helped me been through some real shitty ones to determine what it is that I don't want and
Mm.
define even further what I do want and what I do deserve in life. in a partner. It's helped me be able to identify that. So even when you are single, and yes, you could be living your best life, and yes, you could be having a great time, and yes, you could do that very safely and still do your thing, and can no one judge you. Yet at the same token, I do feel that for any one of us who is still in that single life and doing our thing, if we do know that at some point we do want a relationship, I think it's still important to be aware of these things. And when you are surrounded by people who are in relationships, it's not about being all up in their business. It's just being aware of that not everything is perfect and people go through their shit, but they can still make it.
Right.
But it is about just knowing you, knowing what you want, knowing where you are going, and knowing that you ever see I remember the phrase match my fly. Do you remember that about like
Yes.
fashion, like, right? It's kind of like that. It's like, do you have to be in the exact same industry I'm in for us to be successful? No, not necessarily. But I need to see your drive. I need to see your ambition. I need to see where your goals are, where my goals are. Like, are we going at least in that same direction?
Right.
Like, you need to see that. And because that could tell you so much about a person who you're with. Another thing I'm very huge on is trust and believe your most vulnerable state is when you are standing completely naked next to that person that you love. And by naked, I mean physically, but also from your soul.
Mhm.
So you should always be able to have a lot of transparency with that person and be able to talk about things
Right.
with your communication. I'm very huge on that.
Yes.
The moment you can't feel that level of comfort, it's a problem.
Hmm.
It's a problem. Your
Right.
body's talking to you.
Right.
It's a problem. So I think if there's anything from a takeaway here, I hope it's been helpful. Anybody has any more experiences, similar to mine or similar to Kim's, please feel free to email the show and share the show. Email is in the show description. And thank you, Kim, even more for just shining more light on the purpose to your blog and these recommendations and a lot of transparency and what has helped you
Yeah.
with this evolution and, the evolution of that relationship in itself, because it could be easy to call it a failure, but I want to reference it as an evolution. How about that?
I like that.
I don't want
Yeah.
to look at it as a negative.
Yeah.
I don't. How about that? We're gonna go into the overdose.
Ooh.
This is where we go on a rant on either something that pissed us off or something that has us completely happy, right? On a good vibe. And before I go, I wanted to know if there was anything you wanted to share off
Oh
the
my
bat.
God, I get to
Yeah.
share something on
Anything at
this
all.
platform.
Yeah.
This might be better than a Facebook post. Ah.
Oh. Well, you might want to. And I swear, I mean, you might want to if you want to. And I swear on everything that I love, it's all about alignment. The universe has ways of talking to you. So go for it,
All
Kim.
right. So, although my relationship with my ex has been over for some time now, yesterday,
Go for
yesterday
it.
made it official. I am officially divorced. And because we're not looking at this as a failure,
It's
this
not.
is a very, very happy moment for me in my evolution.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Kim. Oh,
So,
Kim.
I'm so glad I got to share that here.
Let me just say, we definitely scheduled this recording well over a week ago. And it was for this date. And it's crazy that this is how it happened. And just knowing what this conversation was going to be about for you to even, and it's so funny because we were just talking about like, you want to celebrate, you want to share it, but it's like how, right? Because Kim was not gonna make the mistake I did.
Mm.
Someday I'll tell you what I did. Oh, excuse you, see the fire truck is going off because I lit some shit on fire that day when I announced my divorce. It was bad. I'll someday share it. Not today though. Not today, because we're gonna just not look at this as a failure because my shit was an epic fail. And I was young and dumb. I'll share it someday, not today. But kudos to Kim. Congratulations to Kim, because she is speaking so free today.
Ooh,
And it is a celebration when you are truly happy, when there is peace, and when you've come to be able to say, oh, I'm good now.
Yeah.
I'm good now. For anyone that knows that feeling, you can definitely be in full glory with Kim here.
Yay.
And I'm just so proud of you and I'm just so happy for you.
Thank you.
And you know me, I'm going to wish nothing but the best and positive evolution to be continued even on your journey now as co-parents, even at your
Yes.
journey now as that level of a unit for your children too. Because I know what that journey is like too. And sometimes it takes a long time, but you can get there. And I'm always going to wish that upon anyone who is in this disposition.
And
So
I'm looking to you. You know that, right?
that's
Yeah.
okay. You know I'm here. You know I'm here. You know I'm here. I wanted to share some excitement, something on a good vibe on this overdose. Here we are talking about, just I'm here saying share your story with me on an email. There's a reason why. So double dose of raw talk. This is actually I'm gonna say it now. This is actually going to be, and it is episode 49. Because we're about to hit 50. Okay.
You all.
Yes. Yes. And you know what this is? Like I've been saying several times, email the show. I've always included the show email. I've always done this. And I've never looked for an email from a listener for the purpose of me gloating about it. No, I really want to hear your story. Like I really want to hear someone come through. And so for episode 49, I want to just share the first email that Double Dose of Raw Talk got. And it comes from a girl named Sue. So shout out to Sue. She knows I'm going to share
Sue.
this. Hey, Sue. She knows I'm going to share this because I actually asked her if I could. And she writes, Hi, Miss D. I've just been listening to some of your Double Dose of Raw Talk podcast episodes, and I've loved every one of them I've listened to so far. They are fun as well as educational and very well presented. I was not always intending to be educational, but if you took it that way, I appreciate that. And it's great to hear the women talk openly about sexuality and sexual experiences. It's why I love when you have female guests so much. Some of your podcasts literally get me laughing out loud. Thank you so much for being so awesome. I love your approach of no topics are off limits. And then she says, and I'm not going to give the full story because I think for episode 50, I'm going to give the deeper story. So I want you guys to come back next week to episode 50 to listen to, my dose on that day. And I'm gonna dive a little deeper on this because I do have something to say about what happened to her. But here's the teaser. I have a story to share about how I and several other women at work responded to a work colleague who sent me a dick pic.
Oh shit.
And that will be to be continued.
Cliffhanger.
Such a cliffhanger. But here's the thing, right? I'm gonna go into my opinion on this shit in the next episode. But the reason why I wanted to share this beginning of the email, the opening, is because it felt so good to read this email, even if it was about unsolicited dick pics, right? But there was a way, there was a connection. And yes, it was a connection on, oh my God, it happened to me too. Like, this is how this shit happened to me, right? And she shares her story. But it was also the piece of, I didn't know people could find an episode or two educational. I didn't know it was the way I presented things to my listeners and my audience. I know what my goals are with this. And my hope is always that someone takes something away from each episode. That if I see there's 80 something, 90 something downloads, that at least in one of those downloads, somebody said, oh, that touched me. Or, oh, that hit my soul. Or damn, that makes sense. I don't care about the how many. I just want that one person who could say, yeah, I vibe with that. I fucks with that. Out of that whole episode, it was that moment that really made me feel like that's what touched my soul. And the reason why I've been wanting emails is to really see where things have resonated with people. For her to say that, she loves to hear someone be so comfortable in their sexuality, so comfortable in their comfortableness, and the way I present something. I've heard for a long time, it's always not what you say, it's how you say it. And that is a testimony to me, a lot of where my growth is going and what I'm trying to do on this platform and how I'm trying to gauge my listenership and my audience. And yeah, you know what? Even if it is on the topic of unsolicited dick pics, you know what? You heard me out. You heard me out. And I'm glad you felt comfortable to share your story with me, even if it was on that. Like, this was her and a group of women going through something at work, and I swear I'm gonna share a little bit more on the story in episode 50, so come back. But I felt like, oh my God, are you making me part of your group of women with work? Because me and my female guests, and I try really hard to bring on some really dope male guests. And let me just say this, I've had some of the dopest men on this
You
show. Some of the
have.
dopest men on this show telling their story or sharing their insights and their intelligence and who they are and what they are. And you just never know who that may have resonated with, right? You just never know.
Just never know.
And you know, here we are today just on episode 49. It is a whole vibe to me. It took 49 episodes, but I got that one story and that one email from someone that I've been wanting for so long. And it just gives me a whole vibe to just keep pushing forward and keep pushing through on a platform that ever so often sometimes it's like, well, what is my purpose? Well, you know what? You just never know who's listening.
Yeah. And you never know who can relate to something that you share. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to vibe that out with Holly on the overdose because this definitely feels like an overdose for me.
Yeah.
I am like just really happy, like that you don't understand the excitement when I saw that. Like I literally FaceTimed my best friend. You know how I go gossip with my best friend about like everything? I FaceTimed her and she's like, oh my God, bitch, that's so dope. And it's like, yeah, it is. It is when someone who I don't know from a hole in the wall just reached out and
Yeah.
feels so comfortable. And so thank you, Sue, for reaching out. If like Sue, you have any other stories you wanted to share or need advice, I'm not a certified expert, but my life says I am. So there.
I like that. I'm going to use that.
Any last words, Kim, for my show and my listeners and my audience?
Definitely check out the blog. I'm trying to do some new things on there. SheSpeaksFree.com. And also check out the podcast that I am 1/3 of. That's Everybody Relax Podcast. And we stream everywhere. We've got some really exciting things coming up for the next 2 months we're gonna have planned out. So
Yes.
please tune
Yeah.
in.
Yes. And by the time you guys listen to this, their most recent episode would have already dropped. And so you want to go subscribe because you will find out exactly where they've been up to in life. You have time to catch up because they definitely have a new announcement, which I already listened to, which I'm so excited.
Yay.
I'm so happy. Let me go on the record because I've been waiting for this moment because y'all know sometimes I'll be going in withdrawal.
I know.
I'm just so excited. I'm so happy for you guys. I cannot wait to see how this revamps you guys' show. You already know I've been tuned in and you guys don't want to miss it. You guys already know, go to the show notes. You will see the link to Kim's blog, Kim's social media page, IG, and of course the show she is part of and where you can find them on social media and the link to their show. So you would definitely, rate us 5 stars. What would you not do that? Like, it's so easy.
It's super. It's like one click.
One click, and it's usually the 5th one. It's the 5th star.
It's all the way to the right.
Click. Be nice.
And I do have one more thing to say. I don't even think you know about this yet, Daisy, but we're actually getting ready to have Daisy on our podcast.
Oh my God.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that a little off air, but it'll be very soon. I hope it fits into her schedule.
Oh, you guys know, for you guys, anything. Let me just say this. I'm the type of person that I don't just talk about being a listener or supportive, like, honestly. And I say that from a standpoint of just like support. From day one that I launched the show, Everybody Relax podcast, you team members have been very supportive, and both Captain Kim and Big Homie Booth have been part on this platform as guests. And if I didn't say this before, let me say this right now because I know I posted it. But shout out to one of their third, DJ Brian, who obviously is a DJ, but also the graphic designer behind the new logo on Double Dose of Raw Talk. Beautiful, beautiful. You guys are full of talent and I'm here for it. I'm here for all of it. So I will be more than happy to get on that show. So y'all go follow us and stay the fuck tuned and catch the fuck up. That's all it is.
That's it.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, thank you, Kim, so much for coming once again on this platform.
Always an honor.
You know she's gonna come back because this is what we do. All right, guys, this has been yet another week and another episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk podcast. I am your host, Miss C, and you guys will tune in next week. Bye.
Bye.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And we are streaming on all platforms. Check us out on Apple and Spotify. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Now let's talk about it.